Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. You know, sometimes we work to create the adventure of our lifetime, but we have no earthly idea how. We try different things and we hear different things, and we might even read a bunch of books, but there are some people who innately know what they're doing. And I'm going to introduce our co-host for today. I'm not claiming that's him, but he does know. I'm just kidding, John. John Verico is with us. John, how? I'm sorry. How are you?
You are sorry. Okay. And I'm doing great, Kevin. Great to be on the show as usual.
And you brought somebody with you that I think is going to be very impactful to a lot of people, regardless of whether it is in real estate or car sales or just living your life better. I think he's going to be very helpful for that. Would you take the moment to introduce him to us, please?
Sure. So I met this guy on a whole other networking event, and there's something about him just clicked when he started talking about, feeding the white wolf within you. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that, but he has created probably one of the most interesting training programs I have ever seen on helping people to understand each other rather than looking at each other as dollar signs in the real estate industry or any other kind of a sales environment. So I'd like to bring on Ophir Adar to please join us today. Good afternoon, Ophir. How are you? Why am I saying afternoon?
Because it is.
It is afternoon.
And almost anywhere, except if you are listening to this on Brushwood Media, you could be listening to this in Germany at 7:00 in the morning. But that's okay.
Well, perfect. I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad you were able to join us today.
Yes. Now, John, explain how the two of you met.
Oh, goodness. What is it? It was on Jim Britt's team, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we are co-authors in the Cracking the Rich Code book series. Published by Jim Britt and endorsed by Tony Robbins. So we were actually we were co-authors in different editions of the book, and when we had got together on one of our networking meetings where the co-authors get together and kind of share their stories and learn a bit about each other, something just clicked between Ophir and I, and we said, we have to have a chat. And then we had a couple of talks and said, hey, you know what? I think the listeners of Positive Talk Radio are going to want to learn from you.
Which volume are you in?
10, 11, and 13.
Oh my God. I love how much of an underachiever you are. I'm going to be in volume 15, which comes out on Wednesday, actually.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm one of those people, I've just got a lot to say, so I couldn't fit it all in one chapter.
Well, I got to tell you, you guys, in talking to you both before we began, there is a connection there, and I'm looking forward to developing the connection between you and our audience, because I think you can be very, very helpful. And I love the story of the white wolf and stuff, and we're gonna have to go through that at one point. But you've also got, and I want to point this out early because you've got something that we're going to talk about a little bit later that people need to make sure they hang out for, because it's going to be really cool. Could you describe what it is? And then in the second half of the show, right after the break, because I want to keep everybody around, right after the break, we'll do that. But explain what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So my background is in neuro-linguistic programming, and what we're going to do is a 10-minute exercise where we're going to create a ring of power on the floor for each individual. And they're going to be able to step into that ring anytime they want and feel the most powerful, the most confident that they've ever felt. And in a sales opportunity or entrepreneurial opportunity, those things are important, to be able to click in a moment and go from 0 to 100 and be able to have an amazing, fruitful conversation with the consumer.
And I have to ask you, because I was in sales for a very long time, and one of the things about sales that is so difficult for people is cold calling and developing a relationship with somebody and doing all of those things so that you can, rather than look at them as dollar signs, you look at them more as people and how you can help those people achieve the goals that they want to achieve with whatever it is you're doing. Is that kind of how you view it too?
Absolutely. First of all, I mean, I love being here because it's positive talk radio, right?
Yes, sir.
It's about being positive and being able to have amazing, wonderful communication with people, where you're able to actually find out what's driving them, what's their motivation, what's important to them, so you can support them in their needs. And most people never get to that place because they're so focused on a deal or a commission or a sale. And so, and that's what they're being taught right now. So they're not having these amazing, fruitful conversations where they're supporting somebody in their needs. And so I actually was terrified of cold calling and terrified of door knocking and hated it and didn't want to have anything to do with it. And what I found out was the reason I didn't want to do it was because I didn't know how to do it. And so when I was engaging with people, it was just so uncomfortable and felt so fake and so smarmy and all those things, that people feel when they're not taught how to do it the right way. But the reality is this, right? A conversation is just a conversation. And when you know how to have a conversation and build rapport with people quickly and easily, then you're able to have really impactful conversations.
That's probably the most important thing, is being able to relate on that human to human level and not as not a transactional kind of a way.
Absolutely. Especially, I'll share with you guys, my beliefs of what we're moving into in 2025. I feel like the market's about to shift and consumers need support. They need somebody to guide them the right way. And that's what we teach our agents, is how do you guide somebody the right way, where you're looking at the whole picture, not just what's here, but what's coming down the road, so that you can make educated decisions based on knowing everything.
And thus you're able to help the people who don't have the knowledge, that are looking for the knowledge, and they're depending upon the agent or the person that's selling them to be able to give them that knowledge. And that's why it's so important to know what you're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing to know is how to get over objections, right? Because people don't naturally want to talk to salespeople. So you have to know just how to get past that right at the beginning, so that you can then engage in a fruitful conversation. And when you learn, the things that build communication and build connection with people simply and easily, then it becomes something that you can utilize to create those relationships with trust and with rapport. Because especially as the market shifts, people want someone they trust. When the market's hot and things are great, they can work with anybody. It doesn't matter, right? Because it's going to sell. But when the market shifts, and they need somebody good who understands what they're doing, who can guide them and support them, then they're looking for that person. And that person has the ability to create what I call clients for life.
And Ophir, this is applicable not just in the real estate market, but really in anything, right?
This is sales.
In any industry or any kind of a relationship. Right, we're looking to have that trusted relationship with other people, no matter what kind of a transaction or interaction it is.
1000%. I mean, that's the ultimate goal in sales, is to build a database full of clients, right, that you can engage with and not only get their business, but also get referrals from them as well. And so many people are teaching. We talked about this a little bit. So many people are teaching how to just go after deals, how to do those things. And they're not teaching them how to engage with customers and build deeper relationships. And that's really important. And I also think that, unless you, from 20 years of experience in sales, unless your client trusts you, they're not going to tell you the truth. They're not even going to open up to you and tell you their real situation unless they trust you and have rapport with you.
And
I know.
oftentimes,
As soon as,
go ahead.
go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just going to say, oftentimes they don't even want to talk to you.
They don't, of course not.
Mhm.
That's look, nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. Absolutely not. I mean, every single one of us has had a bad sales experience in our lifetime, and every single one of us has a resistance to salespeople. So begin with that in mind. When you begin with that in mind, then it's easy to overcome. But if you don't begin with that in mind, then as soon as you get resistance, you just shut down and walk away, or get angry at them and say, oh, they're a jerk, or, do things that aren't causing you to want to go and do those things, to want to go and call people, or to want to go and door knock. And by the way, I just want to share with you guys, I never say, nobody, I've never met anybody, or maybe one or two people that love to lead generate. Nobody loves to lead generate, but I love what lead generation brings me, the opportunity to help people. That's the important piece to understand.
Isn't that the difference? Rather than looking at people as a dollar sign, looking at how I can use my expertise and what I know to be able to get them what they really want.
Absolutely. That's the key component. And the interesting thing, gentlemen, is who do you think are going to be the sellers of the next 10 years? It's the baby boomers. It's the people who believe in interpersonal communication, who build trust that way, and who respect people that are out there being assertive and pounding the pavement and showing that they're proactive.
Now, you brought it up, so I have to go through that door, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And that is because you're an expert in the field. There are lots and lots of people that are my age or so. They've been in a house for 20 or 30 years. They're not feeling it as like they used to, and don't like the yard work as much, and they'd like us to downsize. But downsizing is a really scary proposition for somebody that's got X number of dollars that in equity in their house, and then they're going to downsize. But how do you help people through the minefield of the baby boomers getting older and then needing to downsize and do all that kind of stuff?
It's a fantastic question. I mean, it's a combination of everything that you just said. And also, my parents are retired now and older. And I remember, when we were talking to them about going into an assisted living facility, it's not something that people want to do psychological, because they think they're checking into like their last place, right?
Yep.
And what happened was, when we moved my parents from a condo into an assisted living, they started doing things and started engaging with other people, and the meals were great. It's just that it's hard for people to acquiesce to that. So you really want to support people in what are their goals, where are they headed 10 years from now, so that they don't get stuck in a situation where they're not able to be mobile and don't have any support or assistance.
Or they wind up being house poor because they went too big or took on too much at some point. But I know, when you talk about kind of getting into that latter stage and making that transition, I know my wife and we've made our last move at this point. We've decided this is the home we're going to stay in. Moving is too much of an ordeal, blah, blah, blah. But at some point we're going to sell, when we sell the house, we're going to sell the house and everything in it, take 2 suitcases of clothes and go aboard a cruise ship. Because it's cheaper than a nursing home and the food quality is better. So there you go.
Yeah, and go enjoy yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate this
talking about this whole transitional process, whether you're going for a bigger home because you're planning a family or all this other stuff, or you're in that downsizing mode, or you're just relocating because of work, or all those things. Every one of those transactions is potentially scary, right? I mean, they're big steps, and let's face it, it's a large financial commitment. So how can you help people when when you're working with them, right? How do you get that trust factor so that they're not just kind of waiting for, oh, here comes the sales pitch, or how do you prove you're being genuine?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And the reality is trust, as we all know it, takes time, right? It's not like immediately you walk in and somebody's going to start trusting you. It takes a little bit of time. So the goal is people like people, right? So people like people that are like themselves. So the more you mirror who they are, the easier it is to build connection with them. And I'll just give you a simple example. If I'm from New York, and I am from New York, right? And I'm talking to somebody from Texas, I'm not going to have a lot of rapport with them because they're slow and they're drawl, and I'm quick and fast. So you just want to learn simple techniques to be able to build that trust and build that rapport. You know, John, the reality is we want our agents to come from integrity, and that's what we teach. And the goal is to be there, not to get a commission, to support somebody in their need. And, you know, that's not always the case with a lot of people. They're focused on a deal. They're focused on getting a transaction for their commission. And so you want to take the time to build the relationship so you can support the client the right way. And that's the goal. And to find out, you know, how do you find out what the client's needs are? It's by asking questions. And we were just talking about this, you know, so many people are taught to sell now, sell themselves. And no, the easiest thing in the world is you want to build connection. You ask questions and dig deeper.
And by the way, we are talking with, and John, give me his name again, because I'm going to screw it up.
This is why I'm here. I'm to help Kevin with pronunciation.
Exactly.
Ophir Adar, who's one of the coolest guys on the planet, I think. I've really come to appreciate.
I love you guys. Yeah.
And when we come back from this break, it's only 30 seconds, so everybody relax. When we come back from this break, I want to ask you about, and I think it is truly an art form, the art of listening. We'll be right back.
Oh.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and John Verico, who is right over there. And he brought us a wonderful sales expert who's going to talk to us a little bit about a bunch of stuff. And in the second, you need to stay tuned for the second half of the show, because he's going to do something really cool. But I wanted to ask you, because I was a sales manager, for a long time. And I would take a sales guy into a place, and the textbooks say manage objections, learn what, you know, and come up with what you think that you can figure out how to manage their objections. So I would go there and he would make us his initial pitch, and the owner of the restaurant would say, yeah, well, this is my issue, and this is what I got, and this is my problem. And then he wouldn't even be listening to that. He would be thinking of the objection, how to overcome any objection that may be there, because that's what he was told in school. But the restaurant owner would say, you don't have any idea what I do you? And so explain to me about the art of listening.
It's such a great point that you're bringing up, because I have now coached thousands and thousands of agents. And one of the things that I see the most is that they aren't listening. And so I do role play every morning with agents. That's actually one of the bases of my role play. I want to interject things to make sure that they're listening, you know, that we'll circle back to, and they'll either have noted it, which could be important to the transaction, or they'll completely glance over it and they'll have missed the importance of the entire, the difference maker of the entire transaction. So listening is so important, and active listening is the most important thing. So what is active listening? Active listening is when you actually, a lot of people sit back and just listen. And so they're tuning out kind of, they're not. Active listening is when you're actually engaged and you're showing them that you're listening and you're nodding your head and you're repeating and affirming what they say so that they know that
not just waiting for your turn to speak next.
That's most of what people are doing, is just waiting for their turn to speak. Or as Kevin said, they're looking for they already have a response to what you're saying before you've even finished. They're already waiting to say their response. And the easiest.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say the funny thing is the easiest way to have an amazing sales relationship is by just asking questions and digging deeper. And what I was saying earlier, a lot of times when I'm talking to a client, they might not know, and they might not know what they want unless I ask them questions and dig deeper and talk to them about different scenarios. The client might not know exactly what they want. And that's why asking those questions and digging deeper is so important to the health of the transaction and the relationship.
Whether it's real estate or car sales, most people walk on and they don't really know what they want. They know that they've got to change something because whatever it is ain't working, but they don't know what it is exactly that they need to change. And so that's why they're coming to talk to an expert who can help them walk through it. And that's why it's important for you to listen, at least from my perspective, to listen and then to ask intelligent questions based upon what they said. Does that make sense?
Everything. That's all the sense in the world. That's exactly how you have to do it. Otherwise, you may be leading them down the wrong path, right? Exactly. And that's not what we want to do. Is we don't want to lead them down the wrong path. I'll give you an example. Right now there's a lot of sellers who are saying, we're going to wait till next year to sell our property. And my question to them would be, what are you waiting for? And they're going to say, well, we hope the interest rates go down. Well, first of all, hope is not a strategy, right? That's not a strategy.
Yeah.
But they don't know what to do, right? So as an expert, I need to really sit down with them and talk to them about not just where the market is, but where's the market heading so that they know. And, a lot of people will just say what the client wants to hear just so they can get the deal. And that will kill people in the next few years if you just tell them what they want to hear.
And doesn't that if you do that, doesn't that give you an icky feeling in your heart?
For me personally, it gives me the worst feeling in the world. I mean, when I'm working with clients, I want them to not just get what they want to get, but also know what's realistic too, right? I'm not going to tell them, hey, price this $500,000 above the market because that's what they want to hear. I'm going to tell them as a professional, that's just not a realistic price. And you would be doing yourself damage if you start that high and start coming down, because then people come in and negotiate with you. And so it's just a matter of really having real conversations. It's real talk.
Which is so important in what you do, because you can either help people or you can send them down the wrong path. And
absolutely,
I'll give you an example. I have relatives, and one had to date 15 surgeries in the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
They live in a not a triplex, but a split level. So she can barely go down the stairs. They have a nice big yard. Her husband loves working in the yard. She lives in her bedroom, the office that they've turned into a studio, and the kitchen. And he likes to go outside and do stuff, but he's getting older and can't do that anymore. And so now they've got this house that is full of all this stuff, but they have no idea, don't have creative ideas on how to transition to the next phase of their life, because they can't go back to when they're 25. They're now in their
Right.
70s. And
Right.
so they need somebody to help them realistically understand where they can go and what makes the most sense for them.
Right, and that requires exploring the options, and you have to be able to have a impactful, great conversation with somebody in order to explore the options with them of what are the potential things that you can do and which one is going to suit you guys the best.
Yeah.
So here's the real question, Ophir. How do you develop the relationship so that they understand you're actually trying to help them and that you're not just trying to push them into a commission sale?
It's a really wonderful question. How do you develop that type of relationship where they trust you? And I would tell you this. I mean, for the most part, right? I'm going to bring value to the consumer. That's my goal. And it doesn't matter whether they sell with me or whether they buy with me. My goal is to educate them and bring them as much value as possible. And then if it's meant to be, it will translate into a relationship and a deal.
And do you actually say that? Do you actually tell them that? So that's what's so important. I mean, so, a zillion years ago, my wife and I got sucked into the timeshare world.
You've been here a zillion years? That's pretty good.
It feels like it. It feels like it sometimes. But, and the reason why we bought is because they said, this might be for you. It might not be for you. You could buy, you cannot. I just want to lay this out on the table. This is the benefits. These are the downsizes. These are the fees that you'd be dealing with. And because of that, we bought. Because they didn't sit there and tell us it was the greatest thing since sliced bread and all these great things that we can do. But there were, unfortunately, at the next level, there were, then the two timeshare promises kind of garbage came in. We ultimately got out of that mess, but still.
Well, but wasn't part of the problem that you got this little card in the mail that said, "Hey, come on, we're going to feed you to a great dinner and it's going to be wonderful."
Oh, sure.
And so you went and you had the dinner, and then you felt obligated to listen to the spiel that they did. Mm-hmm. And that is now, isn't that a qualified sales technique of how to get into that relationship mode?
Of course, that's sales 101, right? That's a classic sales technique to get them to feel guilty, right? About like they're getting all this stuff, they have to at least entertain this, right? Yes. And then from there they try to hook you in.
And it's always it'll only be 30 minutes.
Yes.
6 hours later, you're still going through the slides and the
and they're banking on that, and so it's the same thing as if I'm talking to a potential seller or a potential buyer, and sometimes they may say to me, I don't want to waste your time. The whole point is you're not wasting my time. I'm here to be there for any questions you have, to talk to you about your scenario. And if it's something that I end up helping you, great. And if not, if it's something that I can educate you and you figure it out on your own, that's great too, as long as I'm providing you service, right? My goal is to help people become the cause of their lives rather than the effect of their lives.
Now, keep in mind that my mother, before she passed, got thrown out of a car dealership. I've never known anybody to get thrown off the lot of a car dealership, but she managed to do it. And so one of the questions that she would ask would be, okay, why should I do business with you? What are you going to do for me? How would you answer that?
It's so funny. It's the most important question, that whether somebody verbalizes it or not, you better be able to answer, because that's what they're thinking in their mind, right? I mean, they don't have to verbalize it for you to know that they're thinking, what is different about you? What is the value that you provide? And so for me, that's about what we call, so to speak, an elevator pitch, right? You should be able in a few sentences to tell somebody why they should want to work with you. And so that is one of the most important pieces. But to me, it goes further, because I want my agents to know what their values are and how those values benefit the client. And I think more and more consumers want to know value-based business right now. Like I said, when the economy's good and the economy's hot, people are just doing stuff. Now they want to know who they're working with. They want to know what your values are and how they support the consumer. And you better be able to verbalize that.
And
very few people can.
You hit on a really, really strong point there. I mean, people do business with people, not with businesses, right? So we want to make sure that there's that human connection, that there's that trust factor, that we know what we're getting into and who we're getting into it with. And that's probably the most important thing. And I think that's where I think you're making the biggest difference in how you're training people to be that difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And even I'll take it one step further. I'm training agents to be proactive. You're either reactive or proactive. You're one of those two things. And the proactive agent is the one that's going to reach out to the client, put themselves out there and talk to different people, right? The reactive agent's going to try to get the client to reach out to them. And that's what most agents are doing. And so the way to be proactive is so simple and easy. It doesn't cost you hardly anything, right? It's just getting out there and putting yourself out there, whether it be on the phone or at the door where you're enjoying some sun and getting out in the open, and also engaging with consumers, engaging with people, having real estate conversations.
The one where they're expecting you, or the agent is expecting people to come to them. That's a lazy way to do business. You're never going to be successful doing that, because nobody's going to come. You're going to be sitting there all by yourself.
I know. And that's what drives me crazy with all these coaches. They're trying to sell these agents, these programs, buy this and you'll get these leads and you'll get people reaching out to you. And that's not reality. I don't think that's doing the agents service and supporting them in sales, because that doesn't work. It costs a lot of money. The real estate industry, to me, is designed right now to churn and burn new agents. Yeah. It's churning and burning them. It's, taking their money and spitting them out after maybe a couple of transactions. And that's not, I don't think that's what we want. I think we want people to be longevity, so to speak.
I think there's a couple of industries that are like that right now too, where people are being coaxed into getting into that industry. You should be a speaker. You've got stuff to say. You should be a coach, or you should go into real estate. They seem to be like the three default positions when people don't do well at something else. It's like, yes. Oh, well, maybe you should go into this. Now, I'm saying that, of course, as a speaker and a coach, but well, we got to take a break.
And there is another one, and that is become, Joe Rogan made $100 million. Become a podcaster. You could make all that money. We need to take a break. And when we come back, I want you to introduce Ophir about the Ring of Fire, and we'll do that.
Yes.
Can we do that when we come back?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening, stay right where you are, because this is going to be important for you moving forward. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and John Verico. And John, I'd love for you, because the funny thing was, we got an email from Ophir earlier today, and he said, we're going to do this. And we said, what the hell is that? I have no idea.
So Ophir reached out and said, I can't wait to do the Ring of Power. And I had to laugh. I'm like, the Ring of Power. Wait a minute. Your last name is Adar. That was a Tolkien character in Lord of the Rings. He was the first elf to be, transformed into an orc. What are we doing here? So I know that in reality that's not what we're doing, but I know that what you're planning to do with the Ring of Power is very transformational. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ophir, and I look forward to seeing what we're going to do here now.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we're talking about doing a Ring of Power. And I explained earlier that my background is in neurolinguistic programming. So neurolinguistic programming is about the mind-body connection. And it's about our unconscious mind and how we can communicate effectively with our unconscious mind and with other people's unconscious minds. So it's not just about reframing or supporting others. It's also about being able to do those same things with yourself. So today we're going to do a really simple technique. In 10 minutes, we're going to get this done. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a ring of fire on the ground. And this is for anybody that's not driving. Let's start there.
Good idea. Thank you.
Good idea. If you're driving, do not do this. But if you are at home or even in an office, all you have to do is stand up and you imagine the ring of power on the ground in front of you. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through, we're going to do 3 times. One is going to be about feeling powerful. One is about feeling connected. And the third is about feeling confident. And we're going to take you back to a time where you felt the most confident and start to attach you to those emotions and then have you step into the ring of fire. And when those emotions reach their peak, that's when you step back out. So you're anchoring those emotions into that ring for yourself. So we're going to take you back to that time, and you're going to start to connect to the feelings, to what you saw, what you heard, and then you're going to step into the ring. And when you reach the peak, you're going to step out. Now, the one thing I want everyone to know is do not wait till it starts to go down. You want to hit it at its peak or somewhere in that range, but not on the way down. So as long as your energy is getting more concentrated, more connected, that's where you want to be. And when you reach the peak, you step out. So we're going to do that once for confidence, and then 2 more times. And then everyone's going to have their own ring of power that they can take with them and use and step into and feel powerful anytime they want. How does that sound?
That sounds wonderful.
Sounds cool.
Perfect. So I can get started right now. Are we ready?
So
yeah,
you did say ring of fire. I want to make sure we're not actually like burning something, right? This is a ring of power.
It's ring of power, but it's a ring of fire. So we'll start right there. I mean, everyone, if you can stand up or if you're sitting, you can create a ring of fire in front of you. And it can be any color you want. You just want to make it powerful so it feels good to you. So you're literally creating a ring on the floor of fire, of power. And then what I'm going to do is, before we do anything, I'm going to have you. Okay. So what I'm going to have you guys do is remember a time. This is for everybody. Remember a time when you experienced being confident, a time where you felt the most confident that you felt, that everything was just working out for you and you were in the zone. So go back to that time right now, float back into your body. And I want you to see what you saw and hear what you heard and feel all the feelings of being totally confident. And when you start to attach those feelings, you step into the ring. And when you feel it reach its peak, you step out of the ring. So everybody that's feeling it, when you hit that peak of confidence, step back out of the ring. We'll give it one more second because everybody's on their own time and their own pace in this exercise. That's the beauty of it. So if everyone has stepped out now we're going to do it a second time. So we're going to think about a time where you felt the most powerful that you felt in your life. Go back to that time now where you felt completely powerful and unstoppable. And I want you to float back into your body. And I want you to see what you saw and hear what you heard and feel all the feelings of being totally powerful. And when you start to feel them, step into the ring. And as they become more and more and more powerful and you're more connected to the feelings, step out before it starts to go down. At the peak, step out of the ring. So that's the second one. By the way, I'll clear us. I'll say, do you smell popcorn? That's called a pattern interrupt, so that people can get out of a pattern that they may be stuck in. So we want to clear the stage and start again. So now we're going to do the last one. Really simple. I want you to think about a time where you felt the most excited that you felt in your life. Think back to a time where you were completely excited and passion just exuded from you. And I want you to go back to that time where you were excited and passionate. And I want you to float back into your body. And I want you to see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel all the feelings of being totally excited and passionate, and step into the ring when you start to feel those feelings. And now take them to their peak. And when they reach their peak, step back out of the ring.
I'm afraid we've lost his audio.
You've muted, Ophir.
You accidentally muted yourself. And
The last thing we heard was step back into the ring.
He's still muted. This is what you get when you have live radio or live TV or live something or other, that sometimes things just naturally happen. And what I'm thinking is
that, we don't want our show to come across too polished.
Exactly. Well, and I think he got so much energy involved that he blew out his microphone. Maybe I
think so.
Can you hear me?
Now we've got you back.
Oh my God, where did I lose you?
Last thing we heard was step out of the ring.
Oh, then we did it. We finished.
Yes, but then you were starting to give an explanation. I realized that you were talking and we didn't hear you.
So the only thing I wanted to say is now you have a ring, shrink it down, and then put that ring of fire on your finger, and you can take it with you anywhere you go. And if you want to practice, if you want to see how it feels, bring out your ring of fire and step into it and see how it changes your state, how powerful you feel. And now you can take that anytime you go on a sales appointment.
And I have to tell you something, that last moment was when my my wife, then fiance, called me a bastard. that
was when you felt the most excited?
That was it. It was when she called me a bastard. And it was because little quick story.
I'm not sure we want to know why she called you.
We talked about potential for getting married, and we discussed the ring. And I said, "Look, we're not going to do this over Christmas. After the holidays, we'll go and look for a ring." But things like getting engaged for Christmas, that gets lost in all the family stuff and everything else. And, grandma always gives me a little cash for Christmas. So we can put that, toward the ring. I was a junior kid in the Navy. I didn't have a lot of money. So I said, well, going to do this after Christmas. Now, she did not know that I actually bought her ring already when I was in Israel and when I was in the Navy. And I already had it. And I had stuck the ring. Now, she liked Gumby and Pokey, that TV show. And Pokey had just Gumby had just made a resurgence in popularity. Her favorite character was Pokey, the little orange horse. And I stuck the ring in Pokey's mouth, and I stuck Pokey in the bottom of her stocking that Christmas morning. So when she's digging in and we're pulling out these little, gifts to each other, and she reaches in, she pulls out Pokey. She goes, "It's Pokey." And she freezes. And I got down on one knee. And I asked her to marry me. And she said, "You bastard." And I said, "I'll take that as a yes."
That's a great story.
But that's
an awesome story.
That was the pinnacle of excitement.
Now I understand.
I'm surprised you didn't end up with like Gumby in your face. Like on your throat. But no, that is a great story.
Well, she never actually did say yes. So when she called me a bastard, I said, "I will take that as a yes."
So she never said yes. So now there's her out, you see. If she ever
Don't
wants
tell her I said that. Oh, wait a minute.
Of course, you guys have been married more than 2 weeks now.
Yeah. It's going on 40 years.
40 years. Can you imagine? So that is
and she still never said yes.
No. Ophir, that is a great way for somebody to take their energy and to focus it in a way so that they can. Oh, and also, by the way, tell me if this is true, that when you walk into a place and you are all set and ready to go, and somehow you get deflated, which in a cold call happens all the time, you get deflated, you can rely upon your ring of power to bring it back and to disavow what has been said to you. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Why are you in my office right now?
That's so beautiful, because that goes to feeding the white wolf. That goes to the message of.
And that was where I hope we were going next.
Company.
Oh, we have to take a quick break, and then I want you to tell the story of the white wolf. Will you do that?
Perfect. I would love that.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator and an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. That girl never could be quiet. I'm sorry. But John told me this story, and it's actually, he showed it to me on an animated thing. And
yes.
And so I assume that's you created that.
Yes, I did create that.
You created the animation. It's an old story, though, right? It's an ancient.
It's a story of when I was 9 years old. If you'd like me to tell, I'd be happy to.
Well, that'll make us happy too.
Fantastic. Yeah. When I was 9 years old, my parents brilliantly decided to send me to survival camp. And I knew that it was survival camp because they had to sign a waiver in case I died at the camp. And so here I am, 9 years old, and the camp's in Ontario, Canada. We have to fly in on a seaplane. And we're flying into Ontario on a seaplane. It's June, and there's ice on the water. As soon as we hit the ground, they grab us and they take us in canoes and they paddle out about a quarter of a mile. And they said, sink or swim. Dropped us in the water. I think I walked on water that day. I got back to the shore so fast, it would make your head spin. And then after that experience, they actually brought in a native tribal leader. And we sat around a fire with blankets on, and he started to tell us a story. And he was saying, I have a wolf. I have two wolves fighting inside of me. One's a dark wolf, which is full of envy and anger and frustration and greed and scarcity. And the other's the white wolf, which is full of love and abundance and hope and connection and collaboration. And so I asked him, which one wins? And he told me the one you feed. And so that was a message that didn't stick with me until 30 years later when I got into real estate, or 25 years later when I got into real estate. I realized I was actually feeding my dark wolf the whole time. And when I say feeding my dark wolf, I mean I was feeding it alcohol, meth, drugs, everything, right? I was feeding my dark wolf. And so when you feed your dark wolf, it's very hard to have good conversations. It's very hard to be there to support clients. It's very hard to have confidence in yourself, which is the most important piece, as we all know in sales, is you have to have the sale first. You have to sell it to yourself first before you can sell it to anybody else. And so what I realized was I was feeding my dark wolf constantly. And so I started a program where I started to feed my white wolf, and I started to feed it affirmations. I started to create affirmations, gratitude, the things I was grateful for every day, things like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and all different audios, and to really see a very quick change in my life. From somebody who didn't feel confident, who didn't feel like they belonged in sales, who didn't feel like anybody would want to work with me, to absolutely believing that I was the only person that they should work with, believing that I was the best person for the job, and also coming from a really good place, right? Not coming from wanting to get a commission, coming from wanting to collaborate, wanting to support them, wanting to, get them everything that they wanted. And so when I started to feed my white wolf, everything changed for me. And that's the basis of our coaching program is, not only do you need to have a skill set and you have to be in action, at the same time, you have to be feeding your white wolf constantly. So I think we can all agree that there's plenty of people outside who feed our dark wolves for us. Right? We don't need to worry about that.
Hey, I just want to say, for those people who just are catching us, we've been you're listening to Positive Talk Radio with Kevin McDonald and me. I'm John Verico, and our special guest today is Ophir Adar, who's been telling us all about the difference between feeding our dark wolf and our white wolf, and then took us through a wonderful exercise on your ring of power. And I will say, if you're just picking it up at this point in the show, you want to go back and replay the show. Just saying, you might want to do that. Kevin?
I think that would serve you well. And it's interesting when we talk about the concept of confidence in sales. It is you have to feel confident. Whatever I used to tell sales guys, if when they were going to do cold calls, I said, "Are you confident?" "No, I'm scared." "Go home."
Yeah.
When you're confident, because you're not going to do any good for yourself or the company or anything else. So feel confident. And if you can't, there were guys that came back to me after I fired them, and they said, "Thank you. That job I couldn't understand how to work it and stuff like that." So that's why it's important to have a coach. It's important to have somebody like you that can teach people how to approach it appropriately and properly, so that they can have success and help the people that they're working with.
Yeah, and I believe that comes from a combination of skill set and mindset coaching with role play so that you get good at your conversations, the action that you're talking about. So it's not just the belief, but it's also the action. And when you put those things together, you gain what we call real momentum. You really start to build on the momentum and start to be able to leverage a business into a very successful business.
And that real momentum is a perfect segue for where we need to go, because unfortunately we're tight on time. We'd love to maybe get you back another time, but tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to realmomentum.pro, Pro, you can schedule a consult with me, or you can sign up for our coaching company, our coaching membership. We have two memberships. The goal is to ascend people and keep them on the same track. So you can go to realmomentum.pro, or we're also on school at school.com/real-momentum. And they can join us on school, where our membership is, and they can join us for free and sign up and take a lot of free trainings and get a lot of meditations and things that really support.
Excellent.
And I want to thank you for being here. And we just got a second. So I know this is a really, really quick question. You can do it in like 30 seconds. What's the market going to do in 25?
Yeah, I believe that we are ready for correction. We usually have a correction in our economy every 7 to 10 years. We're at year 15. There's a correction coming. People have been holding off what to do because we were talking about it. They had 2% interest rates. They weren't sure if they wanted to do anything. We are going to see a shift in the market. We're going to see it become a buyer's market in 2025. I also believe it will be a great opportunity for investing. It will be one of the best we've ever seen in history. There will be a lot of opportunity for investing in real estate and for purchasing real estate and being able to negotiate on the buy side. That's my belief.
I hope you're right. And, but I want to thank you for coming on the show. And John, thank you for bringing him along. He's really, really a cool dude.
Yeah, I thought so too. That might be great. Thanks again, Ophir, for joining us. So
Listen,
go ahead.
Positive talk.
Hey, once again, you've been listening to Positive Talk Radio with Kevin McDonald and me. I'm John Verico, and our special guest today.
Say his name again.
Ophir Adar.
Very good. Say it one more time.
Ophir Adar, just because you can't say it.
I know. Ophir Adar. I got it now. I learn auditorially, which is why I listen so well.
That's your submodality.
That's exactly right.
But basically, really, I think his name should have an N in front of it. It should be No Fear.
No fear, Ophir.
I love it.
He has no fear.
No
and
fear.
That's what
I used to be full of fear. Now I have no fear.
It's that ring of power, dude.
It's that ring of power.
Thank
you guys are amazing.
Thanks again. Have a great night.
Take care, and everybody replay this episode. It's going to be playing often and a lot. You're going to learn a lot from this. I'm guaranteeing you should. Thank you guys for being here.
You guys.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.